I still remember the way the room felt that morning. Quiet, polite, and a little rushed, like most public places where strangers pass each other without really seeing one another. Then I saw him. A tired-looking single dad sitting across the room, holding his young daughter's hands, moving his fingers gently in the air. No words. Just hands. And in that simple moment, something changed. Because while most people weren't paying attention, someone very important was watching. A billionaire CEO. And what he noticed would quietly change several lives forever. Before we get into this story, take a quick second to support the channel. If stories about kindness, humanity, and real-life inspiration mean something to you, please subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. You're watching Kindness World, where small acts of kindness make big ripples. Now let me tell you what really happened. It was a weekday morning at a busy airport lounge in Chicago. Flights were delayed, people were glued to their phones, and stress hung in the air. In one corner sat Daniel, a single father in his mid-30s. His clothes were neat but worn, the kind that told a story of budgeting and responsibility. Beside him sat his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. Lily was deaf. Daniel had learned sign language after his wife passed away 3 years earlier. He had promised himself that Lily would never feel alone in a world that already felt too loud and too fast for people like her. Every night after work, he practiced. Every mistake, every slow finger movement, every tired moment was worth it if Lily felt understood. That morning, Lily was nervous. Airports scared her. The crowds, the announcements she couldn't hear, the constant movement. Daniel noticed her hands trembling. So he smiled, leaned closer, and began signing. "It's okay," his hands said gently. "I'm here." Lily's face softened. She signed back, asking if the plane would be safe. Daniel nodded and told her a story with his hands about brave travelers and soft clouds. To anyone else, it might have looked like a quiet game. But it was love in its purest form. Across the room, sitting behind a glass wall with a cup of untouched coffee, was Robert Hayes. A billionaire tech CEO known for his sharp mind and even sharper business deals. He was used to numbers, power, and control. Kindness wasn't something he thought about much anymore. But something about that father and daughter pulled his attention away from his phone. Robert watched as Daniel patiently repeated signs. Watched as Lily smiled. Watched how the world seemed to shrink to just the two of them. Robert felt something uncomfortable in his chest. He thought about his own childhood. Private schools. Nannies. Parents too busy building empires to learn the language of their own child's fears. He had everything growing up, except presents. When Daniel stood up to get Lily a juice, he accidentally dropped a few coins from his pocket. They scattered on the floor. Lily tried to help, but her hands moved slower. A few people glanced over, then looked away. Robert stood up without thinking. He walked over, knelt down, and helped gather the coins. When he handed them back, Daniel looked surprised. "Thank you," Daniel said. Robert nodded, then hesitated. He pointed gently to Lily and signed awkwardly, "Hello." It wasn't perfect. It wasn't smooth. But Lily's eyes lit up. She signed back, smiling wide. Daniel froze for a moment. Then he smiled too. "You know sign language?" Daniel asked. "Not really," Robert admitted softly. "But I'd like to learn." That sentence changed the tone of the room. They talked. Daniel shared his story, not with sadness, but with pride. He talked about Lily's strength. About learning a new language out of love. About how kindness wasn't loud, but it was powerful. Robert listened. When their flights were called, they shook hands. Daniel had no idea who Robert really was. To him, he was just a kind stranger. But kindness has a funny way of coming back around. 2 weeks later, Daniel received an email. He almost deleted it, thinking it was spam. But the subject line caught his eye. Regarding Lily's future. It was from Robert Hayes. Robert had been thinking nonstop about that morning. About how love shows up quietly. About how many children never get the support Lily had. So he decided to do something. Robert offered to fully fund Lily's education, including a school designed for deaf children. He also pledged millions to programs that teach sign language to parents across the country. Not for publicity, not for praise, but because one small moment had reminded him what truly mattered. Daniel cried when he read the email. Not because of the money, but because someone had finally seen them. Years later, Lily would stand on a stage, confident and proud, telling her story through an interpreter. She would talk about her dad, his hands, and a stranger who chose kindness instead of indifference. And Robert, he would say that the most important meeting of his life didn't happen in a boardroom. It happened in a crowded airport, watching a father speak love without words. As I think back on that story, I'm reminded of this simple truth. You never know who's watching. You never know how far a small act of kindness can travel. A smile, a moment of patience, a willingness to see someone fully. Kindness doesn't need money or power. It just needs a heart that's paying attention. So today, wherever you are, whoever you meet, choose kindness. Because somewhere, someone might need it more than you'll ever know.